The way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. If Bibi Netanyahu, if he does something I don't like, and if I criticize it, am I like a bad Christian?
Absolutely not.
Because Charlie Kirk is young and he was growing and he was learning, he didn't know everything. In his early years, he was very zealous. He was pro-Israel like I was because of bad theology. But as he was maturing, and due to the influence of his Catholic wife, he was awakening to the fact that maybe he's wrong, and he was starting to change his position, but it was too late for him because he already invested so much time in being pro-Israel, pro-Zionist as a Christian. So then he got the backing of Jewish billionaires who are pro-Israel, and his hands were tied.
If Bibi Netanyahu, if he does something I don't like, and if I criticize it, am I like a bad Christian?
Absolutely not.
What I find strange is that we're able to criticize the American government sometimes in the Christian world with more freedom than the Israeli government. To be pro-Israel means you believe in the nation of Israel, not necessarily the government of Israel. When Joe Biden was president, you and I we loved America, but we detested our government. And those two things beautifully coexisted.
Yeah, you never once said, "Hey, I'm out on
America."
On America,
it was the opposite.
Exactly.
And what they don't want is they don't want to be called bad Christians if they challenge a foreign government, which is what happens so often.
Right.
Like, you're a bad Christian if you have a question about a foreign government.
Right.
That creates backlash that I don't think people understand.
How did these guys not know this was taking place?
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still have the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that's an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is.
Yeah.
And you're trying to tell me that they're going to concerts and kibbutzes and schools, and by reports, 6 hours. Let's say it's 3 hours.
That's suspect. Go ahead, Rob.
It's also not like a right-wing reporting. This is from the New York Times. The long wait for help as massacre unfolds in Israel. I can't think of a more liberal news outlet than the New York Times.
And by the way, I'm actually very pro-Israel. So let me be very, so I'm not exactly.
Well, I think we all are.
No, I just want to make sure my position is clear here. Here's the essence of it. The essence is this. This is the closest thing to the Holocaust that any of us have lived through. But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate. I gotta be careful the way I say this. They're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
Yep.
I mean, I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets. But there are some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right. Megan, I think I have a bulletproof resume showing my defense of Israel, both on campus, on social media, to great, let's just say mockery and scorn at times, because I believe it, right? I believe in the scriptural land rights given to Israel. I believe in fulfillment of prophecy. And again, I'm not a theologian, but I'm a Christian. My life was changed in Israel. The spiritual energy is so amazing there. I want them to win. I've said that repeatedly.
Same.
And however, Megan, you're hitting on something very potent and important. Now, let me first say, I don't want to judge an entire group because there's been many people in the pro-Israel world that have been very sweet, very kind, very nuanced, very Charlie, you're with us. You don't have to agree all the time. However, and I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat. Literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? What am I doing? I'm sorry. Let's just take a step back here. I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating. It's been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, you saw it, Megan. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state. But it's not defensible to be dumb.
I can tell you right now, from the energy that is coming out of him, the energy that's coming out of Megan, is where I was 2 years ago. Okay? I've been there. You can't even you can't even attempt to lie to me about what is pouring off of both of them. I was someone who spent my political life, defending Israel. Didn't really mean anything to me. It seemed like a good, argument on its surface that we should support them. They're the only democracy in the Middle East. Okay, now I know that that's not even true. But who cares? I was just pro-America, and I wanted to focus on BLM and getting Black America better. And then that happened. I said one thing, and suddenly, woo! It was they just line up. It's like Agent Smith. Okay, it's like Agent Smith in the Matrix. How many can there be, all saying the same thing? And then they gaslight you. They make you think you're crazy because they're like, why don't you understand why what you did is really wrong? I remember this. I remember the tweet. I said, no person, nobody, no nation anywhere in the world has a right to commit genocide. And I was suddenly being flooded with messages from people, Dave Rubin. I remember this. I was like, what did you mean by that? And they're texting me. It's like, we can help you. You can help me what? I said something that made sense. This should not offend anybody. Nobody has, genocide's not cool, right? Did something change? Where was I? It's when you tweeted it. And you could have been clearer. You should have added that Israel would never do that. I'm like, okay, you guys are being insane. This statement stands. I was referring to Brian Mast's remarks, but even if I wasn't, and I just tweeted genocide is always wrong, that tweet should always be right. I can feel that energy, okay? When you're not sure who your friends are, they're starting to gaslight you. They're making you think you're going crazy for having sensible positions. And there's no halfway house for this, okay? I can tell you that. You're either going to take being kicked in the chest, okay, and told get out, and then suddenly they're all communicating behind your back, and just where he talks about that article, something goes out and suddenly it's like, what's going on? They're like trying to make you think you're going crazy because you're saying some sensible stuff. Charlie was at that moment.
Often when there is dissent expressed in the United States against policies of the Israeli government, people here are called anti-Semitic. What is your response to that as an Israeli Jew?
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When from Europe somebody is criticizing Israel, then we bring up the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then they are anti-Semitic. And the organization is strong and has a lot of money, and the ties between Israel and the American Jewish establishment are very strong, and they are strong in this country. As you know, they have power, which it's okay. They are talented people, and they have power, money, and media, and other things. And their attitude is Israel, my country, right or wrong, the identification. And they are not ready to hear criticism. And it's very easy to blame people who criticize certain acts of the Israeli government as anti-Semitics, and to bring up the Holocaust and the suffering of the Jewish people. And that justify everything we do to the Palestinians.
So this is what they don't understand. You and I, Megan, and Tucker is in the same category, and they've tried to go after Tucker.
Yeah.
Is that the more you attack our moral character, the more we're going to double down in a direction, because 100%. Screw you, I don't do it that way, okay?
Right.
Like tell me I'm wrong. Cool. Tell me if I got my facts wrong. By the way, on the Epstein thing, Naftali Bennett says he wasn't an Epstein agent. We have to be pursuers of truth. They've denied it. Fine. Let's keep digging. Okay, fine. But the thing that I think is being lost is, like, on some part of the population, you can scold them into silence, right? Mm-hmm. But if I have any deviation of a purity test, any deviation whatsoever, such as hosting a focus group, right, Megan? With a bunch of our students that went viral, having Dave Smith or Tucker at my event, it is all of a sudden, Charlie is he's no longer with us and all that. I said, wait a second, what do you mean? What does with us mean exactly, right? Mm-hmm. I'm an American, okay? Like, I represent this country, and I don't even understand that paradigm. But Megan, I think you would agree with this. I want to make sure we really zero in on this. Personality types like you, myself, and Tucker, the more that you guys privately and publicly call our character into question, which is not isolated, right? Megan, it would be one thing if it was one text or two texts. It is dozens of texts.
Yes.
Then we start to say, hold the boat here. And to be fair, some of my really good Jewish friends are like, that's not all of us, it's all, but these are leaders too, though, right? These are stakeholders, right? And so, look, I'm afraid, because, again, I want civilization to win. I want the West to win. I don't want the Islamo-fascist barbarians to storm the gates of Jerusalem. I want the holy sites protected. I believe in the Holy Land. I love that Jesus walked on water there and rose from the dead and preached in the Mount of Beatitudes. Like, I feel the connection to Israel. But at the same time, simultaneously, when the hostile reaction is that now Megan and Charlie are enemies,
right?
Boy, I'll tell you, like, you're not gonna, I wouldn't say lose, but you will weaken and just basically deflate two of your strongest advocates if that continues.
They say that Charlie Kirk was offered an infusion of $150 million by Israel. okay? That would double Israel's budget, or excuse me, Turning Point USA's budget. Turning Point USA has an annual budget of $140 million. Netanyahu offered Turning Point $150 million. For one purpose and one purpose only, to shill for Israel harder. Turning Point USA is already pro-Israel. They're not anti-Israel. They've never been anti-Israel. Charlie Kirk has, in the past, criticized Bibi Netanyahu. He has criticized secular left-wing Jewry in America. He has criticized a war with Iran, the famine in Gaza. He has never opposed Israel in itself. He has never explicitly opposed Israel. Israel offered him $150 million to be more pro-Israel than they already were, to be harder in their support for Israel, and in particular, to support regime change in Iran and to support their ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza. And Charlie Kirk refused the money. And I have independently confirmed that, by the way. I've heard that from 4 people. 4 people that I trust that are in the know. So this is coming from Candace Owens, a friend of Charlie Kirk. This is coming from Max Blumenthal, who purports to have a source. And I have heard from a handful of people independently of those sources that this offer was real and that Kirk turned down the money. After Charlie Kirk turned down the money, Netanyahu asked if he would come visit Jerusalem and give him the re-education tour. The Holocaust Museum, the burned babies, the beheaded babies, the one that Elon Musk took, the one that our Speaker of the House took. Anyone that's ever criticized Israel has been subjected to. He refused that as well. They offered to bribe him. They tried to re-educate him. He refused both offers.
I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government without backlash than actual Israelis do. And that's really, really weird.
An easy way to know if you are controlled. Is there somebody or something that you're not allowed to criticize?
That's right.
Simple as that. If you lived in Nazi Germany, you couldn't criticize the Nazi Party. If you lived in the Soviet Union, you couldn't criticize the Communist Party of Russia. If you live in China right now, you can't criticize the Chinese Communist Party. If you live in North Korea, you can't criticize Kim Jong-un. If you live in Cuba, you can't criticize the Cuban Communist Party. If you live in America, who can't you criticize? Who can't you criticize in America?
The Jewish lobby?
Yes.
On both sides.
Right. That's right. That tells you who controls the country. You're not. The fact that we're having this discussion and we're on the edge, all right? Everybody knows here, this is the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Why are we on the edge? Because we're touching the third rail. We're breaking the taboo. You're not allowed to discuss the power of the Israeli lobby in America.
Dave Smith isn't allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
No, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to, though. No, you're not allowed to.
That's proof right there. They control America. That's who's controlling free speech in this country.
A word of warning. If America pulls the plug on Israel, God will pull the plug on us. And we're not going to let that happen.
כבוד הרב, רציתי לשאול מה היו החטאים של ישו והאם זה נכון שהוא בברכה של צער רותחת?
כן. הוא עבר עבירות קשות, מתחילה הוא היה סוטה.
כן, זה נכון שהוא כאילו לתמיד שם בצער רותחת בעולם הבא?
למה לא?
זה לתמיד?
כן, מה יש?
With all my heart, I believe that God raised this country up for 2 things. Number 1, to preach the gospel of the grace of our Lord Jesus. No other nation has preached it like this nation. Number two, to protect the nation of Israel. They don't have any other allies. Oh, others talk it, but we do it. And this is my prayer. God, please keep leadership in Washington that understands that any nation who turns its back on Israel is doomed. For you that may not believe and you think this is all political stuff, it isn't. The Bible says, whoever blesses Israel will be blessed. Whoever curses Israel will be cursed. How many of you have read it in Scripture? And so I pray whoever the leadership is, that they will never forget that God will help us as long as we help Israel.
Why should Christians support Israel? Because God makes a covenant with everyone in the world. Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. I have 3 university degrees. One of them has an emphasis in history. World history can be tied up in that one sentence. Every nation that has blessed Israel, God has blessed. Every nation that has fought against Israel, God has wiped them off the face of the earth.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
It's in Genesis, but... So you're quoting a Bible phrase, you don't have context for it, and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on. Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yet nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the
God's
descendants of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is.
Just sue. That's how we win. We crush them economically. We're sick of this. We are, all of us, collectively, the globe, we're tired of you guys, okay? It's always about money, threats, all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. Do what we say or we'll ruin your life. We're going to call up all our friends and we'll just start writing hit pieces about you and we'll destroy you. Do what we say or we'll have you canceled. We'll have your sponsorships dropped. Do what we say or we'll make sure that you're fired. We'll put pressure so that you can't earn an income. If you're still not going to listen to us and you survive that, we're going to sue you for everything you have. You guys suck, okay? We don't care about your money. We are tired of it. This reveals who you are, not who I am. The truth should be enough.